This is gonna be another tactical analysis video when I'm gonna analyze footage from our 3-1 win against Reading in the FA Cup and show you some really cool stuff. But before that, I need to address the elephant in the room. This world is full of mysteries. Did the aliens build the Great Pyramids of Giza? Did the Illuminati kill Tupac? And am I Justin Trudeau and Ted Mosby's long-lost love child? But of course, the greatest mystery of all, at least for us Manchester United fans, is where the hell did this Casemiro come from? Did he join Manchester United in the wake of Loki's shenanigans in the Marvel multiverse? Because this is not the Casemiro from Real Madrid. At Real Madrid, he was a pure number 6, an anchorman, a midfield destroyer. But at Manchester United, he has evolved. The metamorphosis is complete into a complete midfielder who executes everything with flair, panache, and deadly efficiency. And yesterday, as Casemiro was painting his wonderful chef-d'oeuvre before our privileged eyes, some really cool things were happening in the background. Let's analyze. Let's start with the first clip. Now, the first clip is a clip from the lead-up, the build-up to the Marcus Rashford goal, which was, of course, disallowed because Weghorst was in an offside position. And the reason why I want to show you this is just to show you that the partnership between Casemiro and Antony, the same partnership that has led to Casemiro's first goal with that beautiful through ball from Antony, is actually a pattern. It was not a one-off. If we see here in the build-up to this goal, you have Antony, of course, cutting in on his left foot. And then, of course, Casemiro making a run into empty space from deep. And, of course, Casemiro has a free run into goal, and he was attempting an assist here. It could have been an assist towards Bruno Fernandes. And so now let's see how it actually worked in the goal that Casemiro scored. Now, with this goal, of course, Antony and Casemiro are the stars of the show. They got most of the credit, but I'm going to show you how this goal was actually a team goal, and it was a wonderful goal, one of the best Manchester United goals this season. Now, first of all, the pass from Eriksen here towards Antony is exquisite. However, what you have to pay attention to right here is look at our two fullbacks. Over here, Tyrell Malacia, and here, Aaron Wan Bissaka. Now, Erik ten Hag is using inverted wingbacks. We know that. But how does that affect our play? I've already showed you in our 1-0 win over Wolves how Wan Bissaka's movement helped us create that goal. In this case, his movement and his contribution to us scoring this goal is even more obvious. Why? Baba Rahman over here, the left wing back of Reading, was actually close to Antony. Without Aaron Wan Bissaka making this run, he would still be close to Antony. And Antony would never be able to receive this pass right here. Eriksen would never have made that pass. Now, because of Aaron Wan Bissaka's run, now Antony has a lot of time to control the ball, lift his head. Now, Casemiro, everyone has been raving about his run, which has been an amazing and deadly run. But who made that run possible? Now, let's look. Now, as you can see here, the way Reading are, the way they are set up, it's in a 5-4-1 setup. They're very tight, very compact, deep as well. Here, McIntyre, the left-sided centre-back, he's actually covering this hole right here. This is the hole where Casemiro went, and Casemiro can see this. Look at what Aaron Wan Bissaka is going to do. So Aaron Wan Bissaka does not stop here. He actually moves towards the wing. Of course, Antony has the ball here. He's in a position to pass the ball to Aaron Wan Bissaka in this area right here. This leads to McIntyre going with him. This, of course, opens up this area for Casemiro, who makes the run immediately. McIntyre now realizes that this was a mistake, but it's already too late. And then Antony passes the ball beautifully between three Reading players into the path of Casemiro. Of course, it's too late now for McIntyre. He followed Aaron Wan Bissaka. And then, of course, whoo, ladies and gentlemen, if someone ever asks you to define perfection, voila. Just show them this goal. This is a perfect goal. But of course, Casemiro and Antony made the headlines, and they deserve it. Of course, both of them. This was a magnificent play from both of them. But Aaron Wan Bissaka, right here, Aaron Wan Bissaka has opened up the space, first of all, for Antony. If we go back into the sequence, right? For Antony to receive the ball, first and foremost. And then by making this run, He was able to drag McIntyre with him, hence opening up the space for Casemiro. And then, of course, beautiful goal. So here again, Aaron Wan Bissaka. This is a great example of how you can affect the run of a game without even touching the ball. He has created this goal without even touching the ball. And that's amazing, and that's a very difficult skill to master. His reading of the game has improved a lot. His positioning sense, his off-the-ball movement has skyrocketed. We have never seen this from Aaron Wan Bissaka since he's been at Manchester United. And that's credit to Erik ten Hag, and credit to Aaron Wan Bissaka also for working hard and fighting for his spot in Manchester United. So then comes in, of course, the second goal. So the second goal, there isn't much to say about it tactically. Of course, Casemiro's sheer brilliance over here. However, what I want to talk about here is look at Reading's defense. So their defense and their midfield, they are very compact and very deep. Now at Manchester United, we've had a lot of trouble unlocking these kind of defenses. And throughout the history, I've watched Manchester United in the 2000s a lot, and we had Paul Scholes over here. Paul Scholes scored a huge proportion of his goals like these, you know, from like 35, 40 yards sometimes. Why? Because the opposition would actually back off. They would play deep and compact to try to avoid conceding goals against us. But then that leaves a lot of space here for players like Scholes and players like Casemiro. Both of them wearing the number 18, by the way. And then players like this, they're just class, you know, they are gonna score goals like this, and that's a beautiful shot. And I'm just happy that we have a player like Casemiro in these kind of areas right now, because before that, I mean, like having players like Fellaini and Fred and McTominay, you know, they're not gonna score goals like this. That's not their game. Probably Paul Pogba, that was his game, but his heart and mind was not in Manchester when he was here. So that didn't happen, that didn't materialize. Now, the third goal is also interesting because this is from a set piece. Now, I have to say, Reading at this time, you know, they seemed like they gave up. Andy Carroll just got a red card at this point. This was like literally 1 minute after that. But this is still an interesting set piece here. I've talked in my previous videos about how Manchester United has a set piece routine where they only have 3 or 4 players in the box. This is an example of that. Look, there are 8 Reading players and only 4 Manchester United players. And let's look at these players. First of all, you have Aaron Wan Bissaka, who doesn't really seem to be interested in what's happening. There's Rashford. He's tall, but he's not really an aerial player. That's not his game. And Fred, one of the shortest players in the league. And then you have Weghorst, the only really threatening player in the box right now. That's a very interesting setup for Manchester United. Then you have Antony and Bruno Fernandes over here. Now, the first thing you're going to notice is this. Holmes, the Reading centre-back, he's tasked with marking Fred over here. The ball is already at play and he's still fixing his boots or socks, you know? So that's already a lapse in concentration that's going to be deadly for Reading. But also notice how Maguire and Lindelof are on the edge of the box, and only now are they making a run. Look at how Holmes is going to react to that. Look, as soon as he sees them, he starts panicking. He does not know what to do. Why? Because when you have a set piece like this, usually you set markers for the players who are in the box, right? You're like, okay, you take this one, I take this one, you two, you take those two, and that's it. But here, because Maguire and Lindelof were outside of the box, they were not part of the equation. Now, Reading were ready for 4 players in the box. Now, they have 6 players in the box. So that's the first problem. Now, the second thing is Fred, who's making his run over here into the first post. Of course, he's going to be the goal scorer. Now, Bruno sees that. Fred makes a run. The Reading players don't track him. Why? Well, because Reading, throughout this game, they've been playing the offside trap. Here, let me give you an example from Casemiro's goal. Okay, so here, if we look at this footage right here, okay, so this is Bruno Fernandes over here. He's known for making these runs, you know, behind the defense, and these are the Reading defenders. Look at what they do. So at first, they notice him, they run with him, and then they just stopped, you know, paying attention to him. Why? Because he's in an offside position. So they are trying to play a relatively high defensive line without going in too deep and without breaking their shape, because they are aware that players like Bruno Fernandes make these runs. So here in the set piece, they think that Fred is going to be the same thing. So he's going to make a run. As you can see, they are trying to be perfectly aligned over here, but that didn't work. And the reason it didn't work, actually, we cannot really see it from this angle, but we can see it better from this angle over here. Yeah. Okay, so let's look at Fred's run over here. So he makes a run first towards goal, and then slowly he moves into his right. And the reason why he's doing that is because he wants to be aligned with the last defender over here. He's shadowing him, making sure that he's exactly behind him so that he's not in an offside position. And then, of course, the ball comes towards him. Beautiful finish. And this is a great testament to how Fred has evolved as a player under Erik ten Hag. He's much smarter tactically, makes much better decisions, and he's much more efficient and reliable than he used to be before. So there it is, guys. I hope that you've enjoyed this tactical video. If you did, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and cheers.